Hey, this is Sporty King, and welcome to Glue Wednesday. Now, the broadcast hasn't actually started yet if you're on live. But what I do, because it's scheduled for 1 o'clock, but what I do is I always like to come on 3 to 5 minutes early. It's a different train of thought for different people who do live broadcasts, but one that I recommend. And I come on early so that it gives Facebook a chance to do what they call build the audience. So anybody who has said, let me know when Sporty goes on live, they get a message. And so let's say, for instance, you forgot that I was coming on live. And you say, oh my God, that's right, Sporty. Oh, I need to finish this up. And see, so if I come on at exactly 1 o'clock and you get that message, you're still finishing something up. And you know what? That 1 or 2 minutes that you missed of the message is something that I might want you to get. So I always come on live. We've got less than 3 minutes. I always come on live earlier than my broadcast. So even if you're on live now, and I see I've got 3 people, if you got about 2 minutes to go do something else and close it out for sure. But that's one train of thought. Some people decide that they would rather come on at the exact moment that they're scheduled, and that's fine. So that's one of the things that you want to choose. I always like to give tech tips as well. I'm using something called StreamYard right now, and StreamYard has a time delay as it lets you broadcast live on Facebook. So there'll be comments in the thread that I may go back to as I'm going through my presentation here today, or I should say through my conversation, because Wednesday is our conversational day. Glue Wednesday, by the way, it's born from where people used to say, and they still say, hump day, that Wednesday is hump day. Well, hump day is based on the fact that Wednesday is the middle of a 5-day week, because old school, we just did the weekends and the weekdays and the weekends. We didn't do nothing else. But the truth is, not everybody works from Monday to Friday. And so I looked at Wednesday as the middle of a traditional 7-day week, because it doesn't matter what your work schedule is. Wednesday keeps the weekend and the week beginning together, so it becomes the glue. And that puts us right in a prayerful mode. And so that prayer is GLUE, God's love undoes everything. And that's how I named Glue Wednesday, because I said we need to keep it together, not get over. So we don't want to worry about hump day, getting over. We want to glue, keep it together. And meanwhile, I also come on early so I can do my shout outs to my family. What's up, Roger Carroll? And see, this is, again, we've got to learn to make technology as personal as possible. See, don't get caught up in the fact, well, technology makes it so impersonal. Technology does make it impersonal. But guess what? People get the chance to make it personal. So are you letting technology rule you, or are you ruling technology? Remember, we created technology. It did not create us. And of all things, one thing that technology has to remember, it needs somebody to click on the on and off switch. So never let your technology beat you. So I love coming on early and getting my shout outs from my family members. And look at Roger Carroll, Uncle Sporty, I hear you. And then Tony here that says Shirley, but hello, family. Shirley, that Tony is her middle name, or Antoinette, and then Tony, the nickname. So I'll get the shout outs from my family at the beginning, gets my juices flowing, gets your juices flowing. See that, and who's starting your juices flowing? See, that's what we have to do. Recognize that we all need someone to do something, and that becomes the joy and the blessing of how we get to share. So even though, Roger Carroll and Tony don't necessarily know everybody that comes on the broadcast, but they always come on as family. I got 2 more of my regulars, Haas and Victor. They'll come on, they'll say something, and I'm going to highlight them too. But I won't highlight everybody throughout the whole conversation, because I'm talking about Glue Wednesday. And so let's get right in. It's 1 o'clock now. Let's talk about Glue Wednesday. And my topic today is stress, STRESS. And if you didn't see the promo, what I wrote is, as we close out the month of September, let us hold on to that first letter in the month of September. Let us hold on to the S and talk about the S in stress, which is something else that we hold on. See, we hold on to stress, yet we can learn not to just control our stress, but we want to learn to master our stress. Last year, I got certified as a stress mastery educator through my good friend, Dr. Heidi Hanna, and the American Institute of Stress, because that's what we're saying. It's not about, we always hear the term handle your stress, manage your stress, but we want you to remember that you can actually master your stress. But it's just about, it's just a case of you needing to be able to focus on how you can master that stress. In fact, right there, you can just change that word from manage to master. Because as you talk to yourself about what you're doing, then you start to do it. So start telling yourself that you're mastering your stress. I didn't think of that, so now I thought of it. Thank you for the inspiration. See how that goes? But look, here's a fun fact about one of the critical sources of stress, which is change. Here's a fun fact. The S that I'm talking about, the S in the letter September. September actually was originally the 7th month. It's the 9th month now, but September was the 7th month. It comes from the Latin root septem, which means 7, because in the original Roman Republican calendar, September was the 7th month of the year rather than the 9th. Okay, so then July was named after Julius Caesar in 44 BC. Previously, July was just called Quintilis, which is Latin for 5th. It was just the 5th month. August was named after Augustus Caesar in 8 BC, and it was previously called Sextilla, because that's Latin for 6th. So Quintilis, 5th, Sextilla, 6. So August and July were just the 5th and 6th months. So, but what happened was Julius Caesar's astronomers explained that the need for 12 months in a year and the addition of a leap year to synchronize with the season. They said, you know what, we need to have 12 months because there are actually 12 lunar cycles in a year. And at that time, there were only 10 months on the calendar, even though they were spread out over 12 lunar cycles in a year. And I actually remember first researching this based on a conversation with a good friend of mine, Lennox. And Lennox, R.I.P., rest in peace, but also rest in praise as I give thanks to his having coming into my life. You see, that's one of the things, again, all of these things sprinkle stress as we go through. Are you thankful for the people that come into your life? And even as we recognize that sometimes grief is a part of our stress, how do you handle your grief? A lot of people like to say rest in peace, sleep in peace, but then it also becomes important for us to have that memory of that person. So what was it about that person that helps you say RIP? So that's why I also say to Lennox, rest in praise, because I had so enjoyed him and his conversations and the fact that he came into my life. And therefore, I also changed the RIP to remember in Pekino. And I know Tony just fell off her chair. Remember in Pekino, because when we usually got together to play the game Pekino, there was always laughter and sharing. Guess what those are? 2 more key components of mastering your stress. If you don't know about Pekino, Google it, look it up. It's a great game. It's like bingo using cards, but it's a great game. So like I say, I first heard about July and August through Lennox, and that becomes a great memory for me. And again, memories are what help us master our stress, how we decide to turn them around. Okay, so let's move on with our fun facts. The months of January and February were added to the calendar. So the original 5th and 6th months had to be renamed. See, I guess they used to only name the months 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? That's how the months were named. So Julius Caesar's astronomers, again, they decided that they were going to add January and February. And therefore, when they named those 2 months, that's what changed 5th and 6th, 5 and 6 to July and August. And so that's what moved September back. And both of these months were given 31 days to reflect their importance, having been named after Roman leaders. So even now, as you think about how old the people in the Bible were supposed to be, can you see how they were actually living 10-month cycles? Now, does that change the way you look at age? It does for me. See, in biblical terms, I'm 78. That's 65 times 12 months is 780 months divided by a 10-month cycle. I'm 78 in biblical time. So even when we think about how we say, oh, Methuselah was so old and all, old as Methuselah, those terms that we hear in the Bible, they were dealing with a 10-month cycle. How do you look at age right now? Because again, how you look at age is a part of your stress. How many people are stressed out about their age? How many people want to hide their age so that nobody can know, because I don't know what it is. Are they embarrassed or, whatever it's, I don't know what your reason is. It's a good reason, I'm sure. It's not one that I use. I'm always happy to say my age. In fact, I was speaking with my Army group last weekend, not this past weekend before last. Oh, no, it was just this past Saturday in Charlotte. And what I said to them, I said, hey, I hit Medicare because I was getting ready to have September 27th, my first month celebration after my 65th birthday, because, as you know, I celebrate each 27th of every month. I celebrate being a month older. Find reasons to celebrate yourself. And I do that because it's easier. I used to try to do it with the weeks and the days, but you lose count. But now, like I said, I know I'm 780 months old, but I don't always remember that. So it's easier for me to just say another month. Find a way to celebrate you. When you do, guess what happens? Other people celebrate you as well. So how old are you in biblical terms? So do some math. Let's do some math. Your age, if you want to. And by the way, you can even do this if you're watching the broadcast. There's nothing wrong with you participating while you're watching the broadcast, because the message that you plant, even though you weren't on the broadcast live, when someone else reads it, it may be something to help them. Again, let's learn to make technology personal. Sometimes it's leaving a message that personalizes it. Gotta have a lot of ways of looking at things, y'all. And that's for sure part of the message that we're going to deal with today. And so those are some fun facts about stress and about change. Now, here's a fact that can be fun, and it's one that I use to open my classes when I talk about stress. So I'm going to have to share the screen here. And as you can see, it says she met him on the internet. He said he lived in a gated community. She met him on the internet. He said he lived in a gated community. One of the important things that you need to do to master your stress is recognize if you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at them. If you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at them. And let me take a minute there and go back and see what Tony said. When I was younger, my baby sister used to tell her friends she was the oldest. For some reason, she don't want to keep it going. And see, this is what I mean about StreamYard's delay. I'm going to delay a little longer before I move to my next things to get some of these great comments. And but then also, doesn't that become part of change? See, yeah, when she was younger, her baby sister said, "Oh yeah, I'm oldest," but now suddenly she don't want to say that. Okay, so that's cool. And that's great. And he's honest. Well, he's honest. Okay, that's the guy. Yeah, right. He lived in a great gated community, right? That's honest, right? So there's one of the keys we look for in a relationship. She met him on the internet. He said he lived in a gated community. And again, that's a stress principle. If you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at them. Okay, in 2014, on my business card, website, and marketing material, I started listing my address as Penthouse 208, 7601 Cedar Circle Drive, Penthouse 208. And so my friends would say, "Wow, man, you living in the penthouse, you must be doing it," right? And I would also say, "Yep. See, all the buildings in my apartment complex are 2 stories high, and I live on the 2nd floor. And as far as I'm concerned, the top floor in any building is the penthouse." The way I look at it. If you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at them. And so that's what I did, is I changed the way I was looking at my penthouse, at my second floor in my apartment complex. I changed that to my penthouse. All right. So let me take a break and switch this slide for you. All right. Okay. To show you what we go to from there. All right. See, because the thing is, once you change the way you look at things, people change the way they look at you. See, when I told this is actually okay. Go back. When I told my mail carrier Gerard that why I was using Penthouse 208, he liked it so much that if you misaddressed the letter to me, he'd correct it and put it in my mailbox. You see, when you change the way you look at things, people change the way you look at you. Now, this is my favorite envelope because actually, if you look closely, you see 7601 Cedar Point Drive, Penthouse 208. It's exactly addressed properly. But this envelope is from 2019. I moved from that address in 2017 to another part of the complex. And because he knew that he liked Penthouse 208, he knew that I was now in Penthouse 207 in my other building, which was 9812. And so at Cedar Circle Drive, a totally different address. So that's why this is my favorite envelope. And again, it makes the point, when you change the way you look at things, people change the way they look at you. See, my mail carrier liked that penthouse so much that he always remembered it. And when I'd see him, he'd smile and crack up laughing. What we got from Tony? Yes, you did. The top floor perspective. Yeah. And the top line is the name of my business. Okay. In fact, I can quickly give you a quick look at that logo. Look in there, right over that envelope, the top line. And that's the name of my company, because the top line is how I feel affects other people. How other people feel affects your bottom line and your business. So yeah, you got to worry about how people feel. That's the top line. It's more important to check on how people feel. So that's great. So again, if you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at them. When you change the way you look at things, people change the way they look at you. So thanks a lot. So here, let's get another break and see what kind of comments you have. And because I'm getting ready to switch the screen once again. Oh man, this is getting to be more and more fun. All right, let's see what we got. Let's stop the share. Let's go and switch the screen again. And what I want to do this time actually is I'm going to share a video. This will be my first time sharing the video. So let's see how that works. Stream sharing is canceled. Good. Okay, let's share a video. All right. Okay. When you change the way you look at things, people change the look at you. Okay, what I want you to do right now is enjoy these 2 cab rides with me. Now, I'll have to be honest with you. I don't know if the sound came through for you. The microphone turned off on this end. Let me take a second and find out if did that sound come through, because this is my first time using the video on StreamYard. Man, yeah, you got to learn new technology. So did the music come through? Let me know. Oh, it did. Great, great, because that changes that's the point that I want to make. Okay. What I use that video in my presentations because I've already told them if you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at them. But sometimes what you have to do is change the music. You have to change the music in your ear. In other words, who's in your ear? Why are they in your ear? What's in your spirit? How is it in your spirit? When can you change that music? Where will you go when you do? Okay, so that's it. Sometimes that's a stress principle. Sometimes you just have to change the music. As you saw, so were there's really two cab rides? No, it was one cab ride. But you just have to, if you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at them. And sometimes it's just about changing the music. And when you change the music, you change a lot about your surroundings. You find ways to be more comfortable. And in that comfort, what is happening? The word comfort and stress usually don't go in the same sentence, right? So as you become comfortable, now you're starting to master your stress because you still may have stressful situations around you, but how you're looking at them now becomes different. So who's in your ear? Where you getting your information from? They said, be careful of what you listen to on the news. That, because you're getting the side. Look at, like I said, who's in your ear and why? Well, you're getting the news based on someone else's perspective, based on how they want you to perceive it. So then what's in your spirit? How are you feeling about this news that you're getting? And so once you understand that, then you start to see, what can I start to do? How is this causing me stress? And how can I change that and learn to master it? And then when can you change it? See, once you change your news source and once you change what's going on in your spirit, where will you go? Because now if you change the music, that means that you may have to get rid of some people in your life. When you get rid of those people, how do you replace them? What do you replace them with? It's not easy being you, but you is who you've got. And so it is about changing your music, and it is about having that pace in how you look at things. So let's talk about the 3 R's. I think that the answer to each of those questions, the who's in your ear, the why, the what's in your spirit, the how, when you change it, where you go. Let's look at the 3 R's. Let's look at some comments there. That's what's up. Change, create a new perspective. And it's interesting because we all we like to hear about change, but sometimes we don't like to change. Change is not easy. We don't always embrace change because a lot of times change means what? It means switch, take something away and add something, or don't take something away, but add something, or don't add something, just take something away. Change is not one thing, but change is something. A lot of times, I have a session called Masters of Challenge, Embracing Change. And it reminds us that so often we don't see ourselves as masters of change. However, we like a good challenge. And what is challenge but change with an LLE in the middle? And the CHALLENGE. And then the LLE stands for life's learning experiences. Once you recognize how much, because we like to say, I like a good challenge. Well, then that means you like a good change too. You are a master of change. Just as we're talking about mastering stress, how you see it, change the way you look at it. It's the same with change as with stress. Change, if you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at it. So you change and create. Because see how create comes right after change? Once you change, you create. So something has to be different. And that's the positive thing. You don't lose something based on change. You create something new and you create a new perspective. So think about what's the music in your ear? Who's got your attention? And that's why I want to talk to you about what I always talk to my audience. It's the 3 R's. And I'm not talking about the 3 R's of reading, writing, and arithmetic, that's old school. They don't even say that anymore at school, but that's how we learned it. It's called the 3 R's. Google it, young people. reading, writing, and arithmetic. But I'm talking about the 3 R's of research, real stuff, and the resource. See, those are the 3 R's: the resource, the research, the real stuff, and the resource. And the research, as I tell my audiences, the research is what you see on the screen. I research my topic and I bring to my presentation based on some of the facts and figures. The real stuff is how those facts and figures apply to your life. What's going on in your life that makes that research either accurate or inaccurate? It's a decision that you get to make, but you don't have to be upset about the research. What you have to do is be in tune to what the research is, because the next thing that you must consider is the resource. Who's bringing you the research? Because that's going to impact how you see it in your real life. So who's bringing you the resource? Again, so you can see how that goes into who's in your ear, what's in your spirit. See, what kind of research are you getting? How does it apply to your life? But where are you getting it from? Your resource is always important. Guess what y'all know I'm about to say? Choose your messengers carefully and recognize that you're always being carefully chosen as a messenger. And I love when I get to repeat one of my principles, because I like you to see how they are attached to everything that I speak about. Likewise, I want you to start listening to yourself, because listening is the number 1 communication skill. Listen to yourself and see how your principles are attached to what you believe. And that right there in that little paragraph, you see, that's what's in your spirit. And how did it get there? Because it got there through some type of research or some type of resource that will apply to your real life. What's in your spirit and how did it get there? This is why it's also important to forgive ourselves, because we may have something. We may have anger. We may have joy. We may have exhilaration. We may have anxiety. We've got something in our spirit based on what happened in our past. And so I say to you, try not to live with regrets. The things that you did, that's who you were at that time. Can you forgive yourself? Because when you forgive yourself, guess what? People line up to forgive you, as well as who cares if they don't, as long as you've made sure that you've forgiven yourself. Roger Carroll, be sure we know what facts others checked and then do our own fact checking. So thank you for bringing us right back. See, we never off track, but we're right back on the track where we're talking about the research and the real stuff and the resource. You have to know who is doing the fact checking, because guess what? People come to you. Nope, this is it. I heard it. Yeah, I heard it. Like that first, the internet. She met him on the internet. He said it in a gated community. Hey, that was a fact. Like Tony said, he was telling the truth. He was honest. But yeah, where you getting your information from? So 2 that I recommend that I use on the internet, I use truthoffiction.com and Snops, which people tend to think is pronounced Snoop sometimes, but there's only one O, S-N-O-P-S-E-S, Snops. So that's what I use for my fact checking. I don't let that necessarily be the end all. I fact check there, and then maybe I'll look at a news source as well. Excuse me, it depends on what I'm sharing and if I intend to share, because I'm not always looking to be the source. That's one of the things about my site that maybe you do or do not notice. I tend to not repeat stuff that you can get from someone else. I don't need to be your only messenger. In fact, I'd like you to diversify and have other messengers beside me. But, as far as I'm concerned, that makes me a valued messenger, because I can either confirm or switch something that you think. And that's what brings me value. If every site you go to has the same news, after a while, you don't need to go to certain ones, because you can get it all from one. So that's another thing that you want to think about in terms of you being the resource. What kind of information do people get from you, right, Roger Carroll? Yeah, what's your reputation? There's another R, and we're talking about the 3 R's, but what's your reputation for fact checking? Are you someone that just spreads gossip? And you're in a hurry, you're doing your own fact checking. In fact, remember, one of the things that I've always said, but that I've said often, I don't want to say always, is that don't let yourself be the smartest person that you know. Don't let yourself be the smartest person that you know. And that, because sometimes that's what people are doing. They're doing their own fact checking, So you have resources and get to them and make sure you know them. So here's what I want to say to you, okay? the research, the real stuff, and the resource. And here are three things how you can use those to master your stress. One, continue to research. And this is still, this goes right with what Roger Carroll just said. See, continue to research the who, the why, the what, the how, the when, and the where without putting yourself in a box. Now, what am I saying about that? Continue to do that research without putting yourself in a box. In other words, the research says we polled, just like on Family Feud, right? We polled 100 people, and this is what they said. See, so sometimes that's why I say to you, that's why it goes right with what Roger Carroll said about who's doing the research and the resource. See, sometimes the research doesn't stretch wide enough to include you. And that's why you've got to have the real stuff. That's why you've got to know about yourself, because maybe that 101 person would have changed that resource in terms of percentages or even beliefs. So don't put yourself in the box with the research that you do. Really look into all of that, the who, the why, the what, the how, the when, and the where. Don't put yourself in the box. I don't say, and I don't even like to use always and never, because they're extremes with no gray. But I never, when people say, well, what do men think? I don't know, because I think I know what Sporty thinks. I don't know what men think. Well, what do black men think? I don't know what black men think. I know what Sporty thinks, because Sporty's a black man, but Sporty is sporty, et cetera, et cetera. That's something we have to be careful of, because you know what? We don't like somebody else putting us in a box, and then we'll put them in one. It's just, it's just the same as, where right now what's going on in our society, with law enforcement. We know that all police aren't bad, but we say cops. We don't say the crooked cops. See, we don't go into that experience, the cops. Okay. And so again, you can apply that to just about anything. But I'm going to go back to the comments, because I saw one from one of my prized people. It's my Wall Street Journal mother, as I call her, Lillian. Amen. And amen is AMEN, a message that everyone needs. See, we need to keep getting the message over and over from different sources and resources. And that's how you get to share your expertise and your background. And what did Kim say? Boxes are for shoes. Love it, Kim. Boxes. Yeah, don't put yourself. And then you know how people are cliche. Well, I think outside the box. Yeah, sometimes they're thinking outside the box, thinking about how to get back in the box, because not everybody is comfortable with the change that Tony talked about earlier. See, once you get outside the box, you got to get out there and think about, how can I expand? How can I grow my life? In fact, one of the things that Kim just did in growing her life and expanding, she just got, oh my God, what did you get, Kim? Her diversity. I think it's a diversity degree from Cornell University. You can go put it in there, Kim. I give you a shout out because I love you and I appreciate you. But yeah, that's the thing. Boxes are for shoes. Now, I'm about to use that line. So don't, and meanwhile, we got plenty of other boxes too. We got plenty of other boxes. Don't put yourself in a box. And that's what the research can do to you sometimes if you're not careful of how you use it. So that's one. Number two, evaluate why, how, when, and where the research applies to what you're really going through. Because see, that's the thing. That's how you determine about the real stuff. There's nothing wrong with the research, and there's nothing wrong with the shoebox. If it fits, like they say, if the shoe fits, wear it. Okay, and if the shoebox works, use it. But evaluate it. Don't just accept it. Evaluate it. And think about why you need to go along with it, or why this research fits with what goes on in your life, how you've seen it come to be. How has it manifested itself? When and where? Like, when does it seem to happen that I seem to be in that mentality or that mode that the research is talking about? And where does that apply in my life in terms of, remember I said about where you're going to go? Where does that apply and what I'm going to do with my next move? There you go. I'm going to give you that shout out, Kim. Diversity and inclusion. Oh, I left out the and inclusion certificate, but I knew the diversity was in there, and I knew she just got that certification from Cornell University. And like I said, the same when I talked about Lennox with a memory, I went to school in Ithaca, New York. Cornell is in Ithaca. So I'm always kind of sensitive to when I hear Cornell, because I get a memory about, it was just 2 miles. It was 1 mile down the hill and 1 mile up the hill, separated on, the two campuses, and had a lot of good memories and a lot of fun at Cornell and vice versa in Ithaca. So see, keep finding ways to celebrate yourself by finding things that bring you joy. And as you do those things, guess what? You start to minimize so that you can master your stress. So evaluate the research and see how it fits with what's going on in your real life based on who your resource was. Okay, and you're welcome, Kim, not a problem. All right, and so finally, constantly reevaluate. See, I said evaluate the research and the results, but constantly reevaluate the who, the why, the how, the when, and the where you're getting your information from. Roger Carroll, you hit it, because even though it was at the end of your comment, the resource is the key. Okay, where's Roger Carroll? Say, yeah, be sure we know what facts others checked and then do our own fact checking. See, that's both of those are resources. The other people are the resource and you are the resource. So you always have to evaluate who you're getting your information from, and then how are you disseminating it? Because guess what? Remember, you know that game, what is it called? Telephone, where one person says something and then the next person shares it. By the time it gets to the end, it's a whole new message. Well, guess what? Somebody didn't hear what the person before them said, and they decided, well, this is what I've decided they said. Instead of, in the game, you can't stop and say, what did you say? You got to pass on what you heard. But in real life, you don't have to do that. In real life, you can stop and confirm that you got the information correctly, so that you can be the fact-checking resource and that you can be the reliable resource to pass the message on. And that's why you got to do what Roger Carroll just said. So I say constantly reevaluate reevaluate where you get who's delivering your message. Who are your messengers? Our messengers change every day. And that's an okay thing. But why are you listening to this person? See, sometimes people are listening to someone based on their title. Sometimes the messenger, and it's human nature, y'all. But maybe you'll think about that now. I have a meme that says, don't give someone respect based on their title versus their actions. Okay. And so that's the thing. It's not just about the title, because everybody has had, or most people have had, that manager who was a poor manager. They didn't consider them the leader who was not a good leader. Okay. So it's not really just about the title. So why is this person your messenger? And how do you get your information from that resource? Is it by mouth? Is it by text? How do you get that information? You have to look at the quality of the information as well. Sometimes if someone's hiding information by only sending it a certain way, you might have to check the validity of it. In fact, I think that now that I say that out loud, the more verbal information you get, the more skeptical you may have to be about the validity. Why? Because they're not willing to put it in writing. Sometimes that's one of your keys. If someone is willing to put something in writing, it's either true, or they believe it's true, or they want to make sure that they mislead you, and they don't care if they get found out that it's not true. All right. So, how are you getting your information from your resource? When are you getting it? Are you getting it at a time? Now, here's the key, because this is something you don't totally have control over, and in that moment you might not do so well. But are you getting information while you're in a grieving process? See, if something's going wrong in your life, right now people are frustrated about being home, or maybe without a job, or not in a relationship. What's your state of mind? So therefore, when you get that information based on what's going on in your life, it changes how you react to the information. And you might not even care about the resource, because you just wanted to hear somebody on your side say something that you wanted to hear. So yeah, when do you get that information? Slow down and think about, when I heard that, this is where my mind was. Let me rethink that. Remember, going back to the reevaluate, this is the reevaluation. And finally, where? Which is really at the beginning. I just tried to keep them in order. But where you're getting the information, but also, again, where were you when you got that information? See, don't let words only have one meaning. Yeah, where were you physically, but also where were you mentally when you got that information? That makes a difference, because where you are mentally is huge. It's just like, I remember I had one of my nephews when I was engaged, and we were driving. He's 12 years old, and I don't even, know the full conversation, but he said something to the effect of, Uncle Sporty, hey, you're not married yet. What did he say? You're not married yet. You can still play the field. And out of nowhere, I said, you know what? I'm actually, while I'm engaged, I'm more married than I am when the paper comes. Not like Kim's certificate, right? But I said, because I have to have a mindset of being loyal and committed to the relationship. And see, that's what I tell them. And then, by the way, when I said that, it was real smooth what I said. And he was like, oh. And I was like, oh. Wow, I say that. But what's the point? You have to get married before you get married. You have to have a married, committed mindset while you're single. You can't wait till you get married to be married. You can't wait till you're in a relationship to be in a relationship. You can't wait till you have a partnership in business to be a partner. You have to cultivate that mindset before you bring that person into your personal space and your business space, as well as before you get into theirs. Goes right back to the fact checking, doesn't it? See how it all tends to go together, but we just have to find ways to not make it so gigantic in our lives. Because I tried not to use the word stress. We don't want to make it such a big deal in our life that we don't recognize that we are making things bigger than they are so often in our lives. And that's what we need to do. So check the research, the real stuff, and the resource so that you can find ways to master your stress. And let me tell you something. Okay, let me get a comment. Okay, speak it now. I'll put that up there. Speak it now. And and again, words are important. Speak it now. How often do we practice what we preach versus the preaching what we practice? See, speaking is nice. But this is where choosing the messenger comes in as carefully, in the reevaluation of your messenger, because you got somebody who's going to make sure, oh yeah, I'm going to say things, but they're not giving you the truth. And I think I did a post. It was this week, but it was something about listen. I can't think of what it was. Okay, I'll go look at it and put it in a thread. But it is important to be careful that people are going to say what they want to say, but you have to watch what they do rather than just listen to what they say. Because I know what I was thinking of, a session that I do called "Do You Hear What I Mean?" And that's not saying did you hear what I said, it's do you hear what I mean? And that's why the speaking is important, because someone will say something to throw you off, to get your attention. And now you have to decipher, do I follow this? What did I hear? And what did I see? Because listening is the number one communication skill. So you have to be careful. And that's why you get 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that you can listen twice as hard as you can contribute. So intake is important. Outtake is valuable as well. All right. So that's what we have to recognize. Those 3 things: continue to research, evaluate, and then constantly reevaluate. And let me tell you, that's not the foolproof nor the end all to your stress, but it's a good starting place because it's manageable and it's an easy source of practice, because it's a mindset where you have to keep saying, if you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at them. See, that's manageable. And the reason I say it's something that you can practice a lot, because you'll get plenty of instances where things happen and you need to say, okay, I need to change the way I look at this. And then maybe you didn't do a good job on the last one. Oh, okay, the next one. And then so instead of having to wait for a long time for something else to happen, something else is going to come up pretty soon, because you get 5 to 1 in the ratio, 5 to 1 negative impulses a day. I didn't say you get 5 negative and 1 positive. You get 5 to 1. So if you get 5 positive impulses a day, you've probably gotten 25 negative ones. What are you going to do with them? So you get a chance to practice over and over, finding a ways to say, Okay, if I don't like the way things are, change the way I look at them. Oh, I didn't do it good on that one. I'll do it on this next one. And then I get better and better at it. And not 100%. I can't say that I do it all the time, but I do it more than I fail to do it. And that becomes part of the calm that I keep in my life. See, so remember, you're always going to get a chance to recognize that if you don't like the way things are, change the way you look at them. When you change the way you look at things, people change the way they look at you. And remember, if you need a speaker who can extend this message and deliver it in an educational, inspirational, and fun way, please go to my I have my session is called Say Yes to Stress, and you can read about it on you can check out the PDF on my website or on my LinkedIn profile. My Say Yes to Stress, and yes is YES. You experience stuff. Because that's the thing, with stress can just be the stuff that's going on in our lives, but it's something that we can handle, and we can handle it well. And when we handle it well, what do? We master it. So thank you once again. This is Sporty King. Thanks for watching Glue Wednesdays and sharing it. This Friday, by the way, I'm going to be broadcasting what I call Gift Friday. If you're not familiar with Gift Friday is GIFT, God is for today, where I will use one of my original poems as my topic. And then I will, then it's not interactive. Wednesday is our interactive day, okay? But Friday, I will read the poem, share the lesson, and then provide a link for you to go to my site but actually to go directly to that PDF link and download it and keep it and have it as a souvenir and build up your file of Sporty's poetry. So that's what'll happen on Friday. And actually what I'm going to be doing is make it a celebration of World Smile Day. World Smile Day, which is something I learned from a good friend of mine, Barbara Grabstein. And that's again, resource. Okay. She got, she said, hey, I'm doing something for World Smile Day. Who's going to help me? Who's going to do something? I said, hey, I can put it in my broadcast. So I'm going to have a poem that has to do with smiling on Friday. And that'll be at 1:00 Eastern, but also catch any of my broadcasts. Also, I've got Monday, I call it MMM, the Monday Morning Moment. And that's a 1 to 2 minute segment on Mondays. Again, that one is not interactive. In fact, it will be taped and just for your inspirational purposes. And then I'll see you back here next Wednesday on Glue Wednesday, because God's love undoes everything. Thank you for joining me. God bless you. And thank you for the comments in the thread. Since this is on a delay, I'm going to hold on a second and see if there's something I need to address. And so Victor got on in time to say peace out. All right, I told y'all another family member was coming. And that's it. And you know what peace is? PEACE. Placing eternity above chaos and evil. Another way to master your stress. Place eternity above chaos and evil. You know that you're going to home to God. So this stuff is nonsense. This is chaos and evil. This is nonsense. Where's your spirit? Remember, even had that. We said, what's in your spirit? All of that comes to you as well. Thanks again. This is Sporty King. God bless you. Over and out. Ciao.